got to do another introduction? We're going to create the pattern using the combs. This is a standard 250mm texture comb, or ARTEX comb. It's wooden handle. It's got flexible serrated edge and flexible back edge. The back edge here is reinforcement. In other words, this don't go next to the surface. The flat edge goes next to the surface and you draw through the texture. Also, for around the perimeter, we're going to create a border, and this is what we call a rose comb. Same again, plastic material, flexible, reinforcement, wooden handle, and we're going to draw that through the texture to create a pattern. And for creating our corner flowers, we're going to use another rose comb. This one is about 6 inches long. The small rose comb is about 3 to 4 inches. It doesn't really matter as long as you step down the sizes, as long as each one is a little bit smaller than the last. Yeah? So there we are, texturing combs. 3 texturing combs is what we're going to use to create our pattern. When you use a texturing comb, if you hold your texturing comb in the left hand to create a pattern, you start, as you look at the ceiling, you start on the left hand side, far left hand corner. And when you're using your texturing comb and you're texturing a pattern, you always have your back to the pattern. You're always working away from the pattern. So I'll show you an example. My back is against the wall. I'm starting on the far left hand corner and I'm going to work across, right across, right across. So I'm working across and I'm working down the ceiling to create the pattern. When you're rolling on the texture, you use a large roller, dip the roller head in and spin it around. If possible, don't get the metal bar filled with texture, otherwise it will become messy. So you roll around, you completely cover the head of the roller with texture, and then you lift it up and spin it around. From there, you transfer it to the ceiling. You lay it onto the ceiling, try not to touch the edges, and then you just gently roll the texture on, nice and gentle. If you use gentle pressure, the roller will roll. If you use hard pressure, it'll slide. So we've just spent the roller onto the ceiling. We don't need to go any further than that, and then we load our roller up again. There, next to the last band, nice and gently. Because we're creating this pattern, we're running the pattern down in lines across the ceiling. That's how we're going to create our combs. And from the focal point, we want our pattern running diagonal. So that means we've got to set out our first couple of patterns, our first row of shells and fans. These have got to be set out nice because we follow this routine throughout the whole ceiling to give us a nice straight uniform patterns going down the ceiling. So basically, using the texture comb, the flat edge, and there's a reinforcement, the flat edge, just lay it into the texture, don't apply too much pressure, and just gently lay the comb down at an angle, like so. Lay the comb down. And as you can see, as I'm doing this, I'm taking up some texture and I'm continuing to fill up the edges where I've missed with the roller. So as you can see, I'm just using the texture there. So using the texture, just gently draw the comb through, gently draw the comb through, apply it to the edges near the coving or the wall. As you can see now, we put the first row of pattern on. Now we got to set out that pattern so the shells and oyster shells run down in diagonal lines like that. Yeah, so we did the first one all the way across, and I'll show you now how to set out the second set of combs.